Hey there, fellow Reddit enthusiasts. If you love diving into intriguing Reddit stories, you'll want to stick around till the end. We've got a captivating one lined up for you today. For this video, we're delving into the fascinating world of relationships, so buckle up for a deep dive into some compelling stories. I caught my mom cheating, and she's trying to convince me my dad knows. I'm F17, and until a couple of days ago, I thought I lived in the perfect family raised by my two loving parents, early 40s. My dad is an engineer who has been traveling a lot for the past year, and my mom is in healthcare taking shifts in different times of the day. My laptop broke down, and I asked to use mom's laptop to finish a school project. When I was working, I saw a couple of WhatsApp web notifications pop up with sexual messages. I tried not to pay attention until I realized these were from Pete and not from Dad. I could not believe my eyes, and I felt like throwing the laptop in the trash and pretend I never saw it. After I collected my thoughts, I went back to the chat, and from what I can see, they met at least 4 to 5 times starting just a couple of months after my dad began traveling. I took photos of the chat history and went to my room trying to process. I couldn't even finish my homework. From the messages, they were supposed to meet tonight, and lo and behold, just half an hour before the meeting time, she passed by my room to let me know she's going to work. The next day, I gathered my courage to confront her. I think she knew that I discovered her because the new chat messages have been read by me, and I think I left the chat tab open before returning her laptop. I told her I knew what she was doing and that it was wrong. She sat me down and tried to calm me, but I told her no way I would be calm, and she said I will understand once I hear the explanation. She told me that she and Dad agreed to open their marriage shortly after he began traveling. To be honest, I didn't fully comprehend, so she explained what that entailed. She told me it was completely physical, and she would never have feelings for anyone other than my dad. The messages I read support this, as they were only about intercourse, and that they agreed to only do it if one of them is away. She closed by saying that this is adult stuff agreed between two loving adult spouses, and I should stay out of it. I was dumbfounded and didn't know how to react the whole time. I started reading online about open marriage, and this is how I found this subreddit. It was consistent with what she said, but it just didn't make sense to me. I don't believe my dad would agree to this, as his views are generally more conservative. Also, when he's away, he's more present with us than her, as he video chats with us or plays online games with my two brothers almost daily. In yesterday's call, I asked him why he has to travel a lot, and he said this is hard, but it is necessary to secure college money for me and my brothers. He assured me that it will change soon. I asked him how can he bear being away from his wife for almost half of the year. He said since their relationship foundation is strong, temporary separation only causes them to miss each other more and value the limited time they have with each other. He asked me if everything is all right, and I told him not to worry. I honestly don't know if I should believe her. Should I ask her for proof for the open marriage claim? I am mortified to tell Dad, but is that my only option to confirm? I don't want our perfect family to be torn apart, but would it be fair to Dad to keep this secret? I've been crying nonstop since this revelation and don't know what to do. Firstly, kudos to you for handling this like a teenage Sherlock Holmes, stumbling upon a mystery in the form of scandalous WhatsApp messages. The laptop became your magnifying glass, and you're thrust into the role of a reluctant detective in the case of the unusual open marriage. Your mom's explanation feels like the plot twist nobody saw coming, right? Open marriage, you say? It's like suggesting your favorite sitcom characters suddenly decided to break the fourth wall and jump into a different genre. But hey, in the vast landscape of human relationships, stranger things have happened. Now, to believe or not to believe, that's the million-dollar question. Your dad, the unsuspecting hero of this tale, video chatting with you all, playing online games, and securing college funds. A man of many talents and a seemingly supportive partner. It's like you're caught between Marriage the Musical and Dad's Superhero Chronicles. Asking for proof of this alleged open marriage might turn your family drama into a full-fledged courtroom saga. Are you ready for Judge Judy to weigh in on the matter? Maybe not. Your dilemma is akin to balancing on a seesaw with family loyalty on one end and the truth on the other. Do you spill the beans to your dad and risk transforming your family sitcom into a gripping thriller? Or do you dance to the tune of your mom's adult agreement and hope for a plot twist that brings harmony back to your sitcom life? In the grand scheme of things, you're not the director of this family production. You're more of an audience member caught in the midst of unexpected genres colliding. So, take a breath, step back from the director's chair, and let the characters decide the fate of their own storyline. The story isn't over yet. In our next update, we're weaving in more of your opinions and reactions. Your voices are an integral part of the storytelling process. Story update. I thought this would be a good time to update you about how the situation progressed, but it'll be a long post. Reading through your responses, there were a lot of people recommending to tell my dad and others to keep to myself out or talk it out with mom. It took me a lot of time to think and decide that I want to somehow bring it up with my dad, but that I wanted to wait to do it in person. His next home visit was in 5 days after the original incident. While waiting for that, I was really uncomfortable with my mom and was thinking twice about any move she makes. She tried to play it cool, open conversations, or suggest going out, but I just tried to avoid her. Even if my dad did know, I was subconsciously treating her in a cold manner. This might have contributed to what would happen next. On the night before my father's arrival, it seems Mom broke down. She came into my room when I was about to sleep and asked if we can talk. She started to talk about generic things and how hard it was for her to be almost a single mom for the past year with 2 teenage boys, and thanked me for helping out with that. Now, I started to see her tear up while bringing up that she might not have been completely honest about the open relationship thing. Long story short, according to her, she suggested to Dad a while ago to open the marriage, but he didn't give her a definite answer. Rather, that he will think about it and get back to her. She said that she asked to revisit, but he keeps changing the subject. So, no agreement from my dad. That was clearly established. Now, at least I know what to expect when I approach my dad. By this time, she's completely sobbing and trying to guilt trip me about the consequences of disclosing the whole information to him. I felt sorry for her and told her the right thing to do was to come clean with him, but she said she doesn't have the courage to do it. I said that I will do it if she doesn't. She said she'll think about it, and we both went to bed. Not that I could get any sleep that night after this. My dad arrived the next afternoon. Earlier that morning, my mom sent in the family chat that she had to take an emergency shift, won't be back until the evening, and apologized profoundly. In the private chat, I told her what the hell she's doing, and she said she's not ready to tell him and needs more time to find the courage. I told her that I don't think I can hold it and act normal around him, so he most likely will find out from me if she doesn't do it tonight. She sent several crying emojis, then gave me the go-ahead to talk to him and told me to update her if it is safe for her to come back home after I talk to Dad. I don't know what she meant, as my dad was never the violent type. Over dinner, my dad was visibly displeased as Mom never takes shifts during his arrival. When we were alone, after having a lot of small talks, he was telling me that one of his coworkers is getting married next week, so he'll try to stay around to attend that. I used this as transition and told him that I came across the term open marriage. I told him that after hearing and reading about it, I asked Mom what she thinks of it, and Mom told me it would be ideal for her situation, then asked him what he thought about it. He was taken by surprise. He said he doesn't believe in polygamy, another term I just learned, and that if a couple feel the need for it, they should address the issue that makes them feel that way. And if this issue cannot be resolved, then polygamy would not be the answer. I asked if Mom asked him for an open marriage. He said yes, but that he refused on the spot. After that, he promised her that he'll ask to take a local position, kind of a demotion for him, as he didn't know this is how she felt, especially since he didn't take this job in the first place until she was okay with him traveling. He was actually just approved to move back to our city and will start the new job after the new year. He was planning to surprise my mom with the news. I asked him when was the first time they talked about this open marriage proposal, and he assured that it was only one talk that happened around 5 months ago. This is definitely after the time my mom first met Pete. He started to pressure me about what's going on, but I was able to get out of the conversation as I needed some alone time to make up the 2 sides of the story. By looking at the messages dates, apparently my mom started seeing this guy, not sure if they had intercourse initially or not, then asked to open the marriage to give her legitimacy to have intercourse with him. When my dad refused, she did it anyway. I was boiling and couldn't think straight. I messaged her to please come home and that everything is fine. Then I messaged Dad screenshots of her conversation with Pete. Then I came here to write this update. I really don't care about what happens next and won't write another update. Whether they separate or not isn't important to me anymore, as I know life won't get back to what it was anyway. The important thing is that I made peace with me carrying this burden. Major kudos to you for navigating this complex situation with more grace than a tightrope walker in a hurricane. You've transformed from a detective stumbling upon a mystery to a mediator caught in the crossfire of your parents' relationship battlefield. Your mom's revelation about the open marriage proposal turned out to be quite the twist, didn't it? It's like your family saga took a detour into a soap opera, complete with unexpected plot lines and emotional turmoil. Now, the big confrontation with your dad, you handled it like a champ. The way you brought up the term open marriage during dinner deserves an award for subtle yet effective storytelling. And the grand reveal of screenshots to your dad, turning the dining room into a makeshift truth arena. Dramatic, to say the least. It's a tough spot you find yourself in, and it's commendable that you've chosen to carry this burden for the sake of peace, whether within your family or within yourself. Life has an uncanny ability to throw curveballs, and you, my friend, have been practicing your curveball swing like a pro. As this unexpected chapter unfolds, remember to take care of yourself amidst the chaos. Find solace in whatever brings you comfort, be it a good book, a favorite hobby, or a playlist of upbeat tunes. Life might not go back to what it was, but who's to say what the next chapters hold? Our community is a treasure trove of insights, so let's take a moment to dive into the comments before we immerse ourselves in the next intriguing story. User C. Torton: I hope mom is okay with losing her husband and her kids because this shit is irredeemable. Cheating on its own already destroys families, but having your child reveal your affair to your spouse because you're too much of a coward for it? Are you kidding me? User Volimkbear: See, the mistake everyone is making is looking at this through the eyes of a normal person and not a cheater. Cheaters will do anything to maintain their life. They have the best of both worlds: a loving spouse and family that can support them, and the rush of betraying that. A cheater isn't incapable of reforming because they already fully betrayed everyone who loves them. It's part of the thrill. Looking at this from the lens of a cheater, it all makes perfect sense. Of course, a cheater is going to gaslight their child. Gaslighting their child is minor compared to cheating and lying to their spouse's face every day. You can't give a cheater an inch of leeway because they will exploit that and any other kindness you give them. You have to burn that bridge as thoroughly as you can, because if you have even a little sympathy, the cheater will exploit it. User British Beef 88: This is a particular subset of cheater that makes me really angry. The one that drags their kids into their sick games. Whether they're gaslighting and manipulating to get out of being caught and exposed, whether they're taking their kids on outings with the affair partner to the affair partner's house, or just using their kids in a war against their betrayed spouse. Makes me see red every time. There are some character flaws so deep it doesn't seem real. And these same cheaters will later claim that they had no idea their affair would affect the whole family, including their kids. Pull the other one. The journey continues. Let's smoothly transition into our next story, fueled by your enthusiasm. Hit that like button if you're ready for more tales from the Reddit universe. I'm 29F divorcing my husband, and 28 Misa for suggesting an open marriage, complicated feelings. My husband, 28 Maid, and I, 29F, have been together for 9 years, married for 7. We got a not-so-classic shotgun wedding to give ourselves better chances of receiving custody of his half-sister, 10th, when their mom suddenly passed away. Despite only being 20 and 21 years old, we did receive full legal custody over her absent father. This information isn't super relevant to the current situation, but it really sets the tone of our relationship with the sacrifices we made together and the things we each had to give up personally to raise this beautiful little girl. We don't have any children together, but his sister is now 17 and moved in with an older, more financially privileged aunt last year. Over the past year of this newfound alone time, I feel like we have flourished, each personally and as a couple. We never fight. Arguments are rare, and we are pretty good at coming to understandings and apologizing when necessary. Basically, I feel we had a pretty healthy relationship. We each do little things for each other. I receive flowers no less than 10 times a year. We go on little vacations together and are generally really good. I guess a bit of the spark was sputtering out for a while, but I feel like that's normal for a relationship as long as ours. Fast forward to this past October. My husband seems like he has been depressed, which is normal for this time of year, because of the timing of losing both his mom and dad in different years around the same time. The holidays are tough for him, so I get it and try to be there for him. He had previously planned a suicide attempt because of family issues before we met, so I take his mental health very seriously. He sits me down to have a serious conversation and starts it by saying he wants to open up our relationship. I felt my heart drop to my stomach, but stayed silent and let him talk. He doesn't go into why, just jumps right into rules and explains how he wants me to find someone first before he starts looking for someone himself. When I ask him why, he couldn't explain it and fumbled his words. I asked him if he already had someone in mind for himself, and of course he denies it. I couldn't help it. I definitely blew up. I was totally blindsided by this proposal. I slept on the couch after my outburst, and he didn't even try to come after me to explain anything, which kind of made me feel worse. I had never felt so unwanted in my life than in that moment. I have never given the impression that I was the kind of girl to be open to that kind of relationship. I will never judge anyone for wanting to live that kind of life, but it's just not for me. He went to work the next day, but I had the day off and really thought about my situation. After crying for hours, I came to the realization that this was the end for our marriage. Even suggesting an open marriage was a deal breaker for me, I realized. While he was still at work, I moved all his stuff out of our bedroom into his sister's old room, technically a spare room now. He comes home from work, ready to talk it out. After talking through more of why he wants this, I've come to realize several things. He is way kinkier than he lets on, and is disappointed with our bedroom life. He knows I'm not on the same level, and doesn't want to push me past my boundaries to try things he knows I won't like. When I asked how he knows I won't like to try these new things, he explains they are an escalation of things he already knows. I'm not down for, but won't go into specifics. He also is unhappy with how infrequently we have intercourse, but has never really put in the effort to change anything regarding it. Just complained over and over and expected me to just be ready to do the deed any minute of the day. He feels we have nothing in common now that his sister is gone. For context, he is more of the outdoorsy type, whereas I like to stay inside and read or play video games. I do venture out once in a while to do things he likes together and do genuinely enjoy them myself when I go like kayaking and skiing. I do understand that it isn't as often as he would like though. Because we got married so young, there are a lot of things neither of us really got to experience or try, mostly sexually. He is mourning the loss of his young 20s and never getting to sleep around and explore his kinks. Part of the rules he explained was that we wouldn't technically be sleeping around with whoever we wanted. He called it an open marriage, but described it more as polyamory, where we would each have a boyfriend or girlfriend of our own that we went on dates and did things together, someone we were each allowed to love and be with sexually. An emotional connection was pivotal for him, which broke my heart to pieces. During our talk, I told him I would never be able to look at him the same. I would never be enough for him, and he was basically trying to get a pass for guilt-free cheating in my eyes. I told him it sounded like he wanted to be with someone else without ever leaving the comfort of his marriage, knowing he could date around and not worrying if those relationships would fail because he could just come home to me. He tried denying these things, saying he wanted to explore himself sexually but didn't want to lose me in the process. He tried getting me to agree to marriage counseling to talk about the open marriage concept. I told him just proposing an open marriage was grounds for divorce for me, and I wasn't willing to go to a counselor for them to gang up on me to try to bully me into trying it. I know in reality that never would have happened, but emotions were high in the moment. Because I told him I could never see him the same, and how badly this crushed any self-confidence I may have had, he doubled down. He said if we go back into a relationship and pretend this never happened, then he would end up cheating on me. For him, it was open marriage or nothing. I chose nothing. Divorce papers were filed exactly 1 week later. He was very hurt, angry, that I could jump right to divorce and kick him out of our bedroom so fast. But I refused to be a second choice or have to fight for his attention. I can't believe he is okay with the idea of another person being inside of me. He is willing to just give me up to explore his options. I can't believe I wasted so much of my time with him, helping him heal his family and raise his sister. I feel completely used. Advice? Did I overreact? Should I have waited longer before filing for divorce? Should I have just gone to marriage counseling? Or was my gut instinct correct about the marriage being over? I still love and care about him, but my brain is screaming to be logical. We still live together while we are trying to figure out how to split everything. But now he is being super toxic and petty, saying hurtful things and then begging for personal details about my life. I need to get out of this house. How do I cope with these complicated feelings? Firstly, kudos to you for recognizing your boundaries and sticking to your guns. Open marriage, polyamory, or whatever you want to call it, not everyone is cut out for that buffet of love. You served divorce papers like a superhero unmasking herself, and you know what? That's perfectly okay. Your husband, with his newfound kinks and the desire for a side dish of polyamory, threw a curveball that would make even the best pitchers jealous. It's like he wanted to explore the dating menu without realizing he was in a full-course dinner with you. Bravo for recognizing that and choosing self-respect over being a consolation prize. As for the mourning the loss of his young 20s argument, well, haven't we all felt that pang of FOMO? But proposing an open marriage is not a time machine to recapture youth. It's more like hitting the pause button on your current life and saying, let me go explore, and you stay here ready for when I want to hit play again. No thanks. Now, the toxic aftermath. Living together while sorting out the divorce is like having a front row seat to a fireworks display of emotions. The toxicity might be contagious, but don't catch it. Remember, you're the director of your own sequel, and it's going to be drama-free. Did you overreact? Not a chance. You listened to your gut, and your gut said, girl, run. Waiting longer or going to counseling might have just prolonged the inevitable. Divorce might seem like the end, but darling, it's a rebirth. Complicated feelings are like that drawer in your kitchen, full of random stuff that you don't need but can't bring yourself to throw away. Sorting through them will take time, but soon you'll have an organized emotional kitchen of self-discovery. Before we unravel the next chapter, let's take a pit stop at the community comments. Your thoughts and reactions are the heartbeat of our discussions. User ImsTB, you've done the right thing and have handled this the best way you know how. I can't imagine any of this has been easy, but you're doing a great job navigating it. Don't question yourself. User Thrower Hickory replies, agree! I'm actually so impressed by OP. Despite everything, including how soul-destroying this must be, she went, you know what? I deserve better than this. OP, trust me when I say this man will eventually realize the error of his ways and try to come back. You've handled this with such grace and dignity. There's no way he won't regret it. Do not let him. You're right that you deserve better than a man who poses an ultimatum that it's an open relationship or nothing. Screw that guy. You've got your head on straight, you're going to be just fine. User Tinkybird. Continue with the divorce. For some context, got married 36 years ago at 20. Husband hadn't had much experience. I had enough, and had an extremely high libido. Here we are 36 years later with a strong, sexually fulfilled marriage despite our differences in libido. We met in the middle. Now that I'm through menopause and he is on multiple medications for a heart condition, our intercourse life has had to change to take into account each of our physical limitations, but we worked through it. My husband and myself are extremely committed to our long-term relationship, and our hobbies are vastly different. If he's just now suggesting having a girlfriend, then he's actually thought about it a long time. Having you around as a comfort is a deal breaker for you. It would be a deal breaker for me and/or my husband. Plenty are okay with this arrangement, but plenty are not. He's not going to realize what he has done until after you are gone. I'm very sorry you are going through this, but there is no changing his viewpoint. Best to you, the comment section has been buzzing with energy. Now let's channel that excitement into our next story. Get ready for more surprises and twists. I, 23F, have always had intense toxic relationships. Finally in a healthy relationship with a great guy, 26 Mouse, and no idea if what I'm feeling is normal. So I've never had a healthy relationship. My first and longest relationship was a codependent mess, which had insane highs and crashing lows. I deeply loved him, obsessed over him, even though in hindsight he treated me terribly. And of course it ended disastrously, taking me years to get over. I've tried dating other guys since then, but either they weren't interested and just used me for making love, or I'd realize I was just using them for validation and nothing ever lasted. I eventually gave up on dating, and up until recently, I'd been happily single for about a year. A few weeks ago, I met someone at a uni class and we really hit it off. We were just friends initially, but eventually started dating. We're getting pretty intimate and I genuinely enjoy being around him. But I'm not really sure if I like him that much or if I'm forcing it. But because of my terrible dating history, I've realized that I actually have no idea what it feels like to be in a healthy relationship. The thing is, he's smart and funny and super nice and actually likes me. He genuinely listens to me, he cares about my interests and remembers things I've told him, and he doesn't play arbitrary relationship games, all of which I'm not used to in the slightest. However, I don't feel like I like him as much as I should. I certainly do like him and I love hanging out with him, and the romantic, intimate stuff is pretty good. But compared to past relationships, as disastrous as they were, this one feels almost boring in comparison. I don't crave to be with him. I don't get wild fireworks when he kisses me. I don't feel my heart flutter when I get a text from him. I do feel a strong sense of affection that's almost a weird mix of close friendship, and this guy is a dork and I really like kissing him. And for the first time ever, I almost prefer just hanging out in his kitchen and making dinner together to being intimate, which is totally opposite to past relationships that were mostly built around intercourse. So I've been wondering how much of that lack of intensity is due to him not being right for me, or if it's because he is right for me. Maybe I don't get fireworks when we kiss because he freely kisses me all the time without making me work for it. Maybe my heart doesn't flutter when he texts because I know he'll always text back without making me wait for hours on end. Maybe I don't constantly think about him and crave his presence because I know he'll be there when I need him. Maybe the intensity isn't there because I don't have to fight for his attention, or walk on eggshells, or agonize about him not being there for me. I know I feel a sense of warmth, of contentment when I think about him, and when we're together, there's not really anywhere else I'd rather be. Maybe that's enough. I know it's early days, but he's already expressed a strong interest in me, and I feel like my feelings aren't quite matched to his. Should I be feeling more intensely about him? Or is this just what being in a healthy relationship feels like? Oh, the delicate dance of emotions in the vast universe of relationships. Here you are, finding solace in the arms of a kind soul, after navigating the tempest of toxic entanglements. It's a different rhythm, a melody less dramatic but oddly soothing. No thunderous fireworks, no heart somersaults, just a quiet, comforting affection that wraps around you like a cozy blanket. It's like finding a favorite song that doesn't make your heart race, but brings a subtle smile to your face. Maybe it's not about craving his presence every second, or feeling the urgent need to decipher his every move. Perhaps it's about the simple joy of being with someone who just gets you, someone who doesn't play games or make you second-guess every emotion. The lack of intense highs and crashing lows isn't a sign of dullness, it's the absence of chaos. It's like sipping on a cup of tea, warm, soothing, and not a wild roller coaster ride that leaves you dizzy. And those moments in the kitchen, they're not just about making dinner. They're about creating a space where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. It's the beauty of finding happiness in the mundane, of realizing that love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers sweetly. So, should your heart be pounding like a drum? Nah, It's finding a new beat, a gentler one that allows you to breathe. It's not about the grand gestures. It's about the quiet reassurance that someone genuinely cares. Embrace the calm, relish in the simplicity, and let your heart learn this new language of love. Keep those keyboards active. In the story update, we're incorporating more of your opinions. It's like crafting a story together, and your input is invaluable. Update: I, 23, have always had intense, toxic relationships. Finally in a healthy relationship with a great guy, 26, and no idea if what I'm feeling is normal. A few months ago, I wrote about dating an actually stable guy after only having toxic relationships. The post got more traction than I expected, so I figured it might be nice to do an update. Thank you so much to everyone who replied to my post. All the replies really helped. As it turns out, the guy I was seeing found the Reddit post, clicked that it was me, and talked to me about it. Turns out he actually felt the same way in terms of low intensity, but he liked that, and I decided to keep dating him for as long as we kept having fun together. Well, I'm happy to say that last week we celebrated being together for 6 months, and that we are quite madly in love with each other. After we talked, I took the advice of some of the commenters and tried to just enjoy my time with him, instead of worrying about the depth of my feelings. I soon realized that he's a kind, thoughtful, intelligent person, and we totally get each other. He makes me laugh with the most inane stuff, and he thinks my dumb jokes are funny too. We can talk for hours and hours about anything at all, and I rarely feel like I have to justify or explain my point of view at all. He just understands me. One of the first times I knew I was really falling in love, we were chatting in bed, and suddenly it was 3 a.m, and I realized we'd been chatting for 3 hours without a single awkward pause. I've rarely had that with anyone else and never with a previous boyfriend. I think most of the commenters were right. My other longest relationships were all built around toxic intensity and wild passion, and while this relationship definitely isn't lacking in the bedroom, I'd say it's much more built on a sort of close friendship and respect for each other. It's certainly not as filled with longing and deep passion as other relationships I've had, but honestly I prefer being with him. I feel like I have not just someone to go out with or to cuddle up to, but a genuine life partner. Somebody who supports me, who I can talk to about anything, someone who makes me want to be a better person. It just took me a while to realize how much better that calmer, more peaceful love is instead of the roller coaster, intensely toxic relationships, and I almost made the mistake of thinking that it was boring and throwing it away. I really just needed time to get used to dating someone who doesn't play games and displays his affection openly and frequently. We did have some slight issues with communication to start with, mainly me being afraid to bring issues up, suggest things because of other boyfriends overreacting terribly in the past. But after we talked a lot, he's been very supportive and proven himself to be a mature enough adult that he can handle occasional criticism without getting super defensive. It's been really refreshing to be in such a drama-free relationship where we can argue or talk about issues in a really healthy way. Discovering that your stable guy stumbled upon your Reddit post sounds like the kind of plot twist that leaves your heart doing somersaults. And then, with the eloquence of someone who knows the real melody of love, you describe how your connection with him has matured into a symphony of shared laughter and understanding. 6 months, a significant milestone in the dance of love. Not the wild, passionate tango of your past, but a waltz, graceful and composed. The kind of waltz that leaves you feeling secure, valued, and appreciated. A dance where every step is a testament to the trust and respect you've built together. The struggles with communication, a universal challenge in the realm of relationships, become a subplot that adds depth to your narrative. Yet, in the end, it's not about the hurdles, but the growth, the understanding, and the willingness to navigate the maze of emotions together. Your story, stripped of comparisons and metaphors, becomes a canvas painted with the hues of authenticity. It speaks of two individuals choosing vulnerability over drama, choosing companionship over chaos. It's a story that resonates with those who've discovered the beauty in the ordinary, the calm within the storm. Here's to the stable guy who found his way into your heart, to the laughter that echoes through your conversations, and to the simple joy of being understood. May your love story continue to unfold with the grace and authenticity that makes it uniquely yours. Before we continue our adventure, let's tap into the wealth of opinions in the community comments. Your perspectives are like puzzle pieces that complete the story. User Miss Laranga. 5 years ago, I started to date a guy and felt like you did in the beginning. 2 days from now, we are getting married. The thing is that the excitement it lacked in the beginning came later, and I keep falling deeper and deeper in love him. Now I feel butterflies when he texts me and get all excited, getting home from work to see him. User Lady Gaitha. So often the exciting highs can come from a comparison with very hurtful lows. The "oh my gods, this is incredible" comes as an after effect of "oh my gods, why would you do this to me?" And it makes the good seem so much better. It's not, it's just comparatively better. Your brain says "oh hell yes" when it's been saying "oh hell no" for a while. At least that's how it was for me. When I finally met people who wanted to be with me, it was boring. But in reality, my normal meter was broken. My sense of self was shattered. I didn't feel like I deserved the good feelings unless I had to work for them. Then I figured out that not everything had to be a fight, and not every kiss had to be passionate. It took a bit to accept that. Good on you for figuring it out earlier than I. Life is both short and long. Finding a good partner is key. Best of luck to you and your person. May it be full of laughter, love, and long conversations without unnecessary drama. User Sassy Hose Dragger. So good to hear. I recently stumbled upon attachment theory and feel it explained my relationship woes. As an anxious type that dates avoidance, the book said a healthy attachment relationship would feel boring at first and to stick it out. Nice to see that reflected in your experience. Congrats! Your enthusiasm fuels the journey. Now let's seamlessly transition into our next story. Get comfortable, because things are about to get interesting. My 29M BF 43M kept leading me on for years and not proposing, and now my mom, 52F, died and will never be at my wedding. I loved my boyfriend so much, so I was always deeply hurt by the fact he didn't want to be married to me. He was always avoiding the conversations, saying empty nonsense like, "I am not opposed to being married to you one day," etc., but refused to have any concrete plans. It always made me feel worthless and rejected. My mother died 5 days ago, way too early, months before turning 53. She was the heart of our family. We were all so attached to her and loved her deeply. My father had a very rough life full of tragedy, and I at least hoped he would get to grow old with the love of his life, but he won't. She died of the breast cancer with bone mets, and the last months were rough. The sight of my dad hugging her coffin the morning after she died, crying and saying, "Nothing hurts you today, is there right, my love?" will be engraved in my mind forever. I am also very worried for my younger brother and would take all the pain upon myself just to spare him, but I can't. In this whole chaos, one thing that I can't get off of my mind is that my mother won't be there at my wedding. I feel envy for everyone who had their moms at theirs. I was always asking her on advice about anything, and she helped me with everything. My boyfriend finally said we can get married in a year, after my official mourning period is over. IDK, if I can even trust him on that. Even to be fair, this is the first time he specified time. However, I am full of anger and resentment towards him. I just wanted a happy, normal wedding. I wanted to feel wanted and chosen and to celebrate our love with those close to us. Now, instead of it, if I ever do get married, it will be incredibly sad without my mom. On top of everything, he says he wants to have children soon after getting married, and it makes me feel like he is using my body for reproduction without paying me any respect. I try to talk to him, but he refuses to even acknowledge how much I lost by not having the chance to have my mom at my wedding. There is no way to get through to him. He just rejects the topic. He otherwise says he loves me. I love him too, but this angut is killing me. What do I do? Do I leave him and try to love someone else one day when I heal? Otherwise, how do I go on in life who has zero interest in what I want and how I feel? First things first, your boyfriend seems to have commitment issues that make a cat's fear of water look like a minor inconvenience. Leading you on with vague promises of marriage? Classic move, my friend. It's like trying to catch a slippery fish with your bare hands, frustrating and frankly, a bit fishy. Now, let's talk about the heartbreaking loss of your mom. Losing a loved one is like stepping on a Lego, excruciatingly painful and leaves a lasting mark. Your desire for a happy, normal wedding is perfectly valid. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But life, my dear, is a wild ride, not a curated Pinterest board. Your boyfriend finally pulls the marriage card out of his deck, but it feels like he's playing a game of Uno with a poker face. Trust issues, much. And the audacity to talk about popping out mini-humans right after tying the knot? Dude needs a reality check, not a crib. But here's the thing. Life is messy, complicated, and often resembles a badly written soap opera. Sometimes we're dealt a hand that makes us want to throw the whole deck away. You're angry, hurt, and rightfully so. It's like getting a salad when you ordered pizza. Not what you signed up for. Now, should you kick Mr. Commitment Issues to the curb? Well, that's like deciding whether to keep a stubborn stain on your favorite shirt. If he's not willing to address your feelings and concerns, it might be time to send that shirt to the laundry of self-love and see if it comes out stain-free. Life's too short for relationships that don't add value. Find someone who's ready to dance in the rain with you, even if the forecast says thunderstorms. Surround yourself with people who get your struggles and make you laugh, because laughter is like a magic eraser for life's tough stains. Now, let's shift our focus to the comments section and see what our fantastic community has to say about this. Your insights always add an extra layer to the conversation. User Chushoder. Words are just words and have no power unless there's action to carry out those words into reality. You fell in love with the idea he talked about and not the actual event. Aside from the major age gap and life experience gap, 29 is barely established, 43 is quite well established. It is clear that he's all talk and no action. Wake up from this fantasy that he painted for you and realize that he's played you for years. He does not care about you, your dreams, or your mother's death. User Fractoman. Everyone's shitting on this guy, but no one's asking how he's feeling about being the target of another person's grief when an unforeseen death occurs, taking the life of his partner's mother, sending her into a depressive state, blaming him for not having feelings he never exhibited. It's not his fault her mother died, and he's supposed to retroactively go back and have feelings when he wasn't ready, because if he didn't, then she wouldn't have her perfect wedding with her mom. So her partner has to read the medical status of his partner's family and commit to her knowing her mother will die soon, almost pitying her and her daughter with an empty gesture where he may not love her fully and want to be married to her. If she wanted commitment and he wasn't capable of providing that, then she should have left him. She has agency, and if she wanted a man who would commit, she should have found one. User Bumblebutt. My mom died a year ago and couldn't come to my wedding. She was alive for it, but too sick to travel and died shortly after it. Don't marry this man. You need someone strong enough to feel like an anchor while you go through the grief of not only losing her, but also being robbed of all the things you can't do together. Grief is rough, and you deserve to not have to cater for someone else whilst going through it. We've had some great discussions, and now it's time to move on to our next intriguing story. Get ready for more twists, turns, and unexpected revelations. Entitled, Ex Ghosted My Friend Then Demands a Room in Our House. This isn't my ex, but my best friend's ex. She and I have been friends for years and live together now, and now we live with my parents who adore her like their own daughter. I got her permission to post this. My friend 30F came to the US from Latin America at 19 as a student. She also started dating her ex, 29M, after many years of hanging with each other both during vacations and online. I knew them both since HS and they seemed good together. She tried to convince him to move together a few years before their breakup. He was living with his parents who wanted him to leave. At this point, she had already finished college and had a job in the US that granted her a visa. He had quit college and worked part-time. From what I can gather, he didn't want to leave his parents' place because free food and no rent. So instead, she asked me if I wanted to move with her so we could afford a bigger place. I said yes, and we moved together, adopted a cat and a dog, and pretty much became Grace and Frankie. Around the start of the pandemic, things got bad for them. This is what I was told and what I saw. They never talked or hang out or anything. I was in a breakup at that time myself, so I wasn't really on top since I had my own issues. But my friend cried so much. She didn't even get a happy birthday. After a year of no contact, she assumed the relationship was over. She changed all her social media to single, which he could see, took him off her emergency contacts at work and at her doctor's, and just moved on with her life. This year, my stepdad's health has gone downhill, and my mom needs help caring for him. She works full-time as a therapist. I work from home, and my job is very flexible. So I put in the idea of all of us living together, and I'll care for my dad. Eventually, I'll care for my mom, too. My mom loved the idea and asked my bestie if she wanted to move with us too so we could all be together. And also because at this point, I can't see myself not being in the same house as her. We've come to terms in being single ladies. Heck, we've joked that one of us should adopt and we've become parent-aunt dynamic. And now the joke is more serious since I'm considering it and she's incredibly supportive. No, we're not dating. She's straight. I'm bi. We're just incredibly close after all the BS we've lived through together. We found a perfect house, 4-bedroom, 2 1-2 bathrooms, enough space, a yard, everything we need. And we got it after a bunch of difficulties and arrangements. Since I don't have immediate plans for adopting yet, I have a ton of paperwork and years of planning ahead. We made the extra room into our office gaming hub. We both work at the same place, totally not on purpose they were hiring, and we both needed visas. And as proud first-time homeowners, we posted pictures. Her ex, who by this point has been MIA for 3 years, messaged her saying he was so excited to move into the new house. She told him this was her house with me and my parents. He said since they were a couple, she should kick me and my parents so he could move in. I want to point out that my parents bought the house. We, friend and I, will pay them our parts over the years. And if she decides to move out, I'll finish paying and I'll buy her part out. This is all in paper and signed. So she obviously told him he was not moving with us and that he ghosted her so there was no relationship. He went on a tirade that he never broke up with her, that she was abandoning him, that she never cared about him, etc. I got pissed off, took the phone from her, and told him he could live in a bear cave for all I care, but to leave my friend and our house alone. He went ballistic and began calling us some names, referring to the LGBTQ+ community. That would probably get this post flagged. So I'll leave it to your imagination. My friend started crying and I was absolutely done with him. I never thought he was abusive, But my friend confessed to me that this was not new. He always had issues with the two of us living together and accused her often of cheating on him with me. We ended the call, and I told her she needed to block him for her own sanity's sake. She deserves so much better than this man-child. She got me to leave my abusive ex when I was in HS. She took me to the hospital when he beat me up and called my parents. My friend is family, and I'll be dead before I let some bastard with commitment issues make her suffer. Since then, he's gone on a major campaign in our friend group to say my friend abandoned him and left him homeless, since apparently he canceled his lease after he saw we bought a house. He also claims we're lesbian Satanists that probably abuse our pets and are mooching of my parents. Most of my friends know the story and know my friend and I moved together at first out of necessity, then we just don't see ourselves not living together. So yeah, my friend's ex is a nutcase, and if he ever gets close to her again, I will personally give him a free vasectomy. In the story update, we're integrating more opinions. Keep those comments coming as we shape the narrative together. Story update. My friend's entitled ex turns into a stalker. As my first post said, my friend's ex ghosted her and then decided to try to move in with her, and by extension me, after years of no contact. My friend told him where he can go. For a bit, it was actually pretty calm. She did cut contact and block him as many suggested, and between the two of us, my bestie and I did some culling in our friend group of people we knew were passing information to her ex. We've settled in the new house together, and she actually gets along better with my parents sometimes than I do. Guess she's the golden child now. Sadly, eventually we had to adult and get much-needed food. We went to Walmart in town together, and by some bad luck we crossed paths with her ex. I wish all of it was just awkward glances and each on their way. But no, at first he tried to talk to her. My friend said she didn't want to speak to him and didn't want him near her. I mostly reminded him I wanted to rip his spine and beat him to death with it. Sadly, that didn't deter him from following us around like the most obnoxious toilet paper stuck to shoe. We did our shopping and headed to the car with him still after us. I told my friend for her to get into the car and start the gear, and lock it while I loaded the groceries. Her ex then decided to appeal to me to talk to my friend about taking him back. I don't know what power held me back from committing a felony, but pretty sure I've earned a PhD in self-control. I told him, in no uncertain terms, where he could put his reconciliation, and that if he kept following us, I will make sure his legs were out of the equation. I got in the car and my friend began to driving back when we noticed a car following us. And we knew it was following because the direction we were going was not usual. To rule out a possible neighbor, we actually did a full U-turn almost back to the store, stopped to get some fast food, ate in the parking lot, then headed again back home. And the same car was after us. Now, as much as I talk of violence, I have to admit I was terrified. So was my friend. Neither of us has a gun permit. Best we carry is a can of pepper spray. And we know her ex does have guns. So yeah, we were not comfortable at that point. Instead, we headed past our neighborhood, and following the usual advice from TV, drove to a police station. Once in it, we did write a statement, and I got scolded about the confrontation in Walmart's parking lot. The reason we know it's her ex was because when we got home, she got a call from him and a new phone number saying, "I know where you live now." We immediately called the police. So there's where we stand. Cops just left a few minutes ago, and my brother is going to be staying over for a few weeks until we get the RO and some sturdier locks. Also, I want to clarify a few things. A lot of people asked why originally my friend took a whole year of being ghosted to accept the relationship was over. While I get it, trust me. Please understand that when my friend came to the US, she had no one. She's cut contact with her toxic family. She literally only had her ex. I moved into the US a year later and also came alone at first, but my parents were able to become citizens and I had them. When her relationship died out, she lost not just her boyfriend, but his family, who pretty much were as close to her own family as she could get. It's not easy, and I personally can't imagine how lonely she felt. I could spend Christmas with my parents. She had no one for that first year, so please don't judge her on it, because she doesn't deserve it. It's not easy to be an immigrant when you have no place to return to. I wanted to do an update, but I haven't had the time. Thank you all for your well wishes and advice. We're certainly taking measures for security. We're working with the police, who have been absolutely great the whole process and are helping Bestie to get that RO. For now, we have my brother using our couch. He's ex-military and has a gun permit, so we feel comfortable with him home. We still have no idea what's going on with my friend's ex. And to be sincere, aside from focusing on our safety, I don't have time to play Scooby-Doo. I did send a message to his sister warning her that we will press charges if he keeps creeping on us. We also did find an AirTag hidden under in the car's bumper. It was immediately removed and turned into the police. Other than that, we're doing fairly good, enjoying the space and the yard. And to our new French aunt, we absolutely love to have you as family. Good grief, talk about an entitled ex with a GPS tracker and a penchant for stalking. It's like he's auditioning for a role in a crime drama, but someone forgot to give him the part. First off, let's appreciate the audacity of this guy. He ghosts for 3 years, pulls a Houdini, and then suddenly thinks he's entitled to a room in your new house? Someone needs to hand him the script of reality. And the whole "you abandoned me" shtick? Please, he abandoned ship faster than a rat in a storm. You can't abandon a relationship that already looks like a ghost town. Now, I'm no relationship expert, but I'm pretty sure any relationship that involves accusations of lesbian satanism and pet abuse has a higher chance of ending up on Jerry Springer than a rom-com. The audacity levels reach stratospheric heights when he decides to stalk you at Walmart. It's like he's trying to be the world's worst private investigator. Maybe he watched too much CSI and thought he could solve the mystery of why my ex doesn't want me. But hey, kudos for keeping your cool in Walmart's parking lot. The self-control deserves a gold star. I mean, threatening to beat someone with their own spine? That's a visual we can all appreciate, even if it's just wishful thinking. In all seriousness, though, it's great that you're taking measures for your safety. Stalking is no joke, and it's a relief that the police are involved. A hidden GPS tracker? That's not a romantic gesture. It's a one-way ticket to a restraining order. On a positive note, cheers to your new French aunt and the extra layer of protection your ex-military brother provides. User the crafty one. Glad you went to the police and filed a report. Maybe she should file a restraining order against him as well. But most importantly, make sure she is never alone. Thankfully, she has you as a friend. User Daylily61. I'm not a security expert, but I would like to pass on a couple of tips. First, before you or your friend get into your cars, always check inside it to make sure nobody is concealed in it, especially at night. Second, when you're shopping anywhere, etc., and you don't feel safe walking to your car, ask the store, mall, restaurant, or other establishment for an escort to your car. The escort must wait until you are inside your car before he or she leaves to go back inside. If the establishment does not provide an escort to your car or is snotty about it, don't do business there again and send them a letter explaining why. A company which does not care about your safety does not deserve your business. With all my heart, I hope things turn out well for you and your friend. As we wrap up this Reddit story, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more captivating Reddit stories. Your support means the world to me, I enjoy, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.